Halito, Sahochafoa, Linda K. Sawyer, Choctawsia, okay. Well, I was born in Fort Worth, Texas. One of my earliest memories was at my aunt who lived in Weatherford, Texas. I can remember being there and her handing me a bucket and me walking around the chicken yard and barefooted, nonetheless, feeding the chickens. My parents divorced when I was very young, so my mother worked 2 jobs to support all of us. My father, he would come to see us and he loved us, but he never gave her any support. My oldest brother basically raised me until I was like 9, and then he married and moved out from the home, and then I became the caregiver of my sister while my mother worked. My parents wanted to be good parents. They did have issues with alcohol and drugs, though. I idolized my dad. He was the one that really instilled in us our Choctaw heritage. When I was 11, it was my birthday, and I came home from school, expected when I got home, for them to be ready to have me a birthday party. Instead, she had an out with her boyfriend at that time, and the house was kind of wrecked. I can remember going down on the corner as it got the evening time and sitting on the curb and crying and saying, God, why'd you put me in this family? I had a little friend that lived down the street, and her family, her parents were just all over her and protective, and I thought, why can't I be in a family like her? And it's like he spoke to me and he said, well, there are things that I want you to learn. These are some experiences that I'm going to teach you. And so I just kind of accepted that. That was something that just came in my heart. My stepsister had a friend. Her family would come by and pick her up on Sunday morning to go to church. And one Sunday, the friend asked me if I wanted to ride with them to church. I thought, well, okay, yeah, I'll go. They started picking me up for church on Sunday mornings. The next Sunday at church, I went to the altar, and I was crying because I knew things weren't right. I just told God, I know things aren't right. I want to walk with you. I want to live my life. I want you to be in my life. I know that you love me, and I know that your son paid the price for my sins, and I know I've not lived my life right. I know I was only 12, but I had lived on the streets, been on the streets a lot. And at that point, I was like, wow, I felt so new. Felt like I had been saved from the life that I had already experienced. I married at the age of 16. Just a month after that, then I became pregnant with our first child. Didn't really go to church at that time. During our marriage, then he got into drugs and drinking and running around and stuff. And so we eventually divorced, and I raised my children by myself and worked a lot of different jobs in different areas. At that time, a church that had a church bus ministry was coming through the apartments that I lived in. Eventually, I started going to the church. I started studying my Bible. So I really became self-taught in that, and just really delved into the Word and became to just love it. It just was everything to me. I read in the mornings before I went to work. I read on my lunch break when I got home from work, and then I read it before I go to bed. So I was just really consuming everything I could. I was so hungry for everything that the Lord had to say to me. After a while, my brother came and said, hey, why don't you come to Dallas? So I moved to Dallas and met my second husband there at church. He had 2 boys, I had 2 boys, and then we had 2. And really, when we married, he professed to be a Christian, but he wasn't truly a Christian. And about midway through our marriage, he really came to know Christ and just totally changed. And our younger children really benefited from that because he had changed so much. So in my 40s, I started kind of really coming back around, circle back around to my Native heritage and my Choctaw ancestors, and I began to research. I was so grateful to find the Christian legacy that my Choctaw ancestors left, even back into the 1700s. There were chiefs that were so grateful that the gospel had been shared with them. I've had that a legacy handed down to me. I can remember my grandparents talking about the Lord and talking to me. I remember my grandmother, telling me, "Linda Kay, you need to live for the Lord. He's the only way." And of course, I was young and really wasn't getting what they were saying, but I was getting that input all through, and they I'm sure got that input, and the ones before them. So we've had a real legacy of the Word of God coming down from generation to generation. I've had people ask me that I knew when I was a kid and growing up and all, and they asked me, they said, how has your life, become what it is from what you were when you were a kid? And I said, it's Christ. He did it all. And if it weren't for him, no telling where I would have ended up at. I have two scriptures that have really gone with me through life. And one of them is Romans 8:28, in that he takes everything that has happened to me in my life, he has worked it for my good. Every time I've been homeless in my car with my kids sleeping, I've been in caretaking with people that were coming off of drugs and just needed some miraculous things to happen, and the Lord would he's always come through financially, just raising my children by myself for those 7 years. He would just always come through, and he does now. My late husband, after he passed, he's just provided, miraculously provided. There have been times that I've stepped out of his will, but I have never been out of his care. He has always cared for me, no matter what, my fault, someone else's fault. He is all the things that I needed, and he can be all the things that you need. You can know the love that we all desire to have, and that love is found in him. I'm Linda K. Sawyer, and this is my story.